This is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1985 French drama Vagabond.
Eh les gars, venez voir le petit loup qu'il y a là-dedans.
Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's really nice of you. I'm reviewing every movie that has a 100% French rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1985 with Vagabond. This movie has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and an 84% fresh rating from the audience. It is also included in the 1001 movies you must see before you die, and it is on the Sight and Sound top 250 movies of all time list. It is number 101 from the critics and number 41 from the directors. So this is a very acclaimed movie, and I would have to agree that this movie is fantastic. It is dark, it is gritty, it doesn't pull any punches, and that seems to be the theme with the 1980s. Very sad, very emotional, very gritty. Definitely a different atmosphere than what I've seen in previous decades. In fact, there was a movie from the 1940s, 1941, called Sullivan's Travels that I reviewed that had a similar plot in which a producer decides that he is going to become homeless so he can really feel the plight of the downtrodden and he can create a movie that really speaks to the people. Now, when I reviewed that movie, I said that it was a little, I thought it was a little washed out. I didn't feel like it really captured what a person who is homeless would go through. That a lot of the things they went through were a little too easy, and he didn't really suffer at all in his plight being homeless. Now, Vagabond is completely different. This woman suffers. This woman really goes through a lot of pain in her choice to be homeless and to be a drifter. Now, when the movie first opens, the main character, Mona, who is played by Sandrine Bonnaire, she is unfortunately deceased and she is laying in a field. And the rest of the movie is the police, I believe, or investigator talking to people that she had seen last in her life to try to kind of get a complete story of what's going on. So, I mean, she spent a lot of time with other drifters, one especially who I think she was romantically involved with.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? T'as la radio. Va voir.
She spent some time with, I think, a guy who is a professor, and then with a woman who is sort of a caretaker for an older lady. And as a caretaker, she believes that Mona has this great life where she's completely free to do whatever she wants and she doesn't have to answer to anyone. So this person who's the caretaker, she kind of really looks up to Mona and the type of life that Mona has, which honestly isn't a fantastic life. And as the movie goes on, Mona really learns that this life that she chose is not like glamorous. It is very difficult. It is very challenging. And it's nearly impossible, basically. We learn throughout the movie that Mona is used to be a secretary, but she left that profession because she wanted freedom. She wanted to be out on her own. And like I said, when the movie kind of starts, in the beginning of the movie, it seems like she's doing really well with this life, that she kind of has this life figured out. She's finding places to shelter at night to sleep. She's finding places to get food. Now she takes like odd jobs from people, but the people who give her these jobs realize pretty quickly that she has no real interest in working, that her interest lies in kind of using these people for food and shelter. And when it comes time for her to actually get her hands dirty and to get in there and actually do the work, she's just not interested in it. She kind of lazies around a lot. She does drugs. She does things that are stereotypical of someone in her position.
Mona, tu dors? En plus, midi, ça va pas.
Tu dors tout le temps. Nous, on bosse tout le temps. Ça va pas, c'est pas juste. Puis c'est sale. Il y a des mégots partout, c'est brûlé. Ça va pas.
Oh, y a pas de quoi en faire un fromage.
There's a specific scene where she's talking to a goat farmer. Now, she is working for this goat farmer who has his own family, and he's telling her that he kind of chose a life that's not as free as hers, but he's not lonely. He has like a family, and he has, he's kind of comfortable where he is in life, and that he has friends who chose the same life that Mona chose, and they all ended up to be very lonely, and a lot of them ended up dead because they couldn't adapt to this kind of lifestyle. And it may not seem like it would be difficult at first. Like, it seems like you're getting your freedom, and this is something that you can just go and do, and you can kind of like be a rolling stone and not worry about anything and be carefree. But it's actually much, much more difficult than that. It's a fight or flight. It's a survival type thing, and a lot of people aren't able to do it.
Moi, tant mieux pour toi. J'ai choisi un milieu, un moyen terme entre la solitude et la liberté.
Moi, on m'a emmerdé pas mal de temps. Maintenant, c'est fini.
Toi, c'est la liberté totale, tu choisis, mais tu as la solitude totale. Il vient un moment où, si on continue, je pense qu'on se détruit.
So he kind of foreshadows what's going to happen later on in Mona's life. There is a scene, I believe, where she's raped by someone, and then at the end of the movie, she ends up getting this job with the caretaker. So she also becomes a caretaker for this woman, for this older lady. Her and the older lady get along really well. They drink. They get like drunk together.
Oh, un petit coup. Tout petit.
Parce que t'es drôle.
But then the caretaker ends up losing her job, and Mona ends up tossed down the street. And at the end of the movie, where they kind of come for full circle and come back to where we started, Mona ends up very cold. She's walking the fields, the streets at night, and you could tell that this life, even though it doesn't seem like she's been doing this for very long, and that's the thing, is that it doesn't take a long time for this life to catch up to you, especially if you're not used to it, you're not accustomed to it. Maybe you weren't fully prepared for something like this. It doesn't take her very long for this type of life to catch up to her, and for her to kind of fall sick, cold in a field by herself, and she ends up becoming deceased. So I hope I've done this movie justice with my summation of what it's about. I love movies that don't pull any punches. I love movies that don't sugarcoat things, that show you the real harshness of reality, that shows you what's really out there. And the 80s have done a really fantastic job of this. Blown away by a lot of these movies. This is probably my second favorite decade so far, next to the 50s. But the acting in this movie is fantastic, especially from Sandrine's part, from Mona's angle. She does a really good job as the drifter who is kind of moving from place to place, using people, getting what she can, and then moving along. Once people ask her to, like, hey, you need to actually start doing the work, you need to actually start contributing to something, she has no qualms about moving on and finding someone else that she can, she can use for what she needs. And she does a fantastic job. Her acting ability in this movie is great. I've never heard from her before. I don't watch a lot of French movies, except for what I watch for this list. but I thought she did an incredible job. Cinematography is amazing in this movie. The script is fantastic as well. And I just thought this movie tells a really good story. It doesn't, I think it's a truthful story of the situation that could happen. And I think that it really paints a clear picture of how this life would go if it's something that you tried. I knew a girl I used to work with who just decided that she wanted to like train hop for a long time, that she was just gonna like go be homeless and hop on trains and ride trains, and it's something that maybe in your head you glorify as it's going to be fun, it's going to be like an adventure, it's going to be like I'm going to have freedom, I'm going to be able to do what I want, I'm not going to have bills, I'm not going to have the weight of responsibilities on my shoulder, and I'm just going to live this carefree life. And then once you like actually get out in the world and do that, that's not what it is at all. Which is why most people like work their hardest every day to try to not get in that situation, because it's a very hard and dangerous situation to be in. And maybe I'm not inside Mona's head. We don't get a lot of reason for why Mona did this, except she wanted freedom. She didn't like being a secretary. She didn't like the 9 to 5 hours or whatever. So the freedom angle is the only real reason we have for her doing this. So I just have to assume that there was like the sense of excitement, the sense of no responsibilities and things like that. It's just an assumption that I'm making, and that it just didn't happen the way she thought it would, and it was just a much harder existence than what she thought she was going to have. And then at the end of the movie, she like throughout the movie she has a lot of confidence. It seems like that she's going to be able to get to where she needs to get to, that she's going to be able to do what she needs to do. But then at the end of the movie, she's really like a broken person who doesn't have that confidence anymore, who you could tell is actually scared and maybe no longer championing her decisions that she had before. And it's really kind of like a 180 in her personality and of who she is, and she does a really great job with it. I thought this movie was fantastic, and I think a fair score for me to give it would be a 9 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a very early Antonio Banderas movie called Law of Desire. Thank you. Have a great day.